It doesn't even have a firewall. Firewall is gone, half the cowl is gone because of rust. Look at the rails. Their geriatric owners crashed them, and that's why they're here. Junkyards. They are a place where cars are laid to rest and parts stripped to give others a second chance on the road. Without these establishments, the automotive industry would greatly suffer. So join me as I travel around and explore what these places have to offer. Many moons ago, Commodores and Falcons were the #1 choice of vehicle for families, businesses, and even the police force. But as the years have gone by, that #1 title has been replaced by the likes of small Chinese SUVs and dual cabs. As less and less people choose to repair their domestic-built cars, junkyards have been filling up with these hidden gems. Welcome back to another Wreckers video. You guys liked Campbellfield so much last time, we decided to come back, and this time we're at Pick a Part in Campbellfield. And we're gonna see what kind of Australian cars we can find today. So let's go. So when we're talking about Australian cars, Campbellfield has a lot of history here in Australia because these cars were made in Campbellfield, literally across the road from here. The side that we're on now is where we were in the previous video. We were walking around all the abandoned cars, and then across the highway is where the Campbellfield Ford factory is. This is where this AU Falcon was made, where this B series was made, and where this prehistoric XF was made as well. So if it wasn't for that factory, none of these cars would be here. And it's kind of crazy how they've come full circle and now they're being dismantled at the place where they were assembled. This row of cars here, we've got a Barra, we've got an Intec, and over here we've got a Crossflow, which is the grandfather to the Intec and the Barra. If this never existed, the Barra never would have existed and history wouldn't have been made. But I think this is the real winner of them all. I think it's very safe to say this is probably the biggest Wreckers we've been to, right?
I don't know. I think Imlux is bigger
than this.
Yeah, I think area-wise,
this place is huge. Goes all the way down there, all the way over there. I reckon this place is bigger.
Yeah, this place is huge.
Yeah, a lot more Fords as well. And Holdens.
But they're all dismantled.
Yeah, cars are going to be more dismantled here than they are in our area. Here we have what looks to be an ED. Doesn't have cruise, but it has aircon. Interesting. So this has obviously the SOC motor, and then right next to it is an AU, which is an Intec. They look very similar. They have a few differences. This one actually has VCT, as you can see here. Here's the progression in motors. Not that though. While I was too busy embracing the warm hugs from all the Falcons, I completely forgot about the sheer number of Holden Commodores that were at the Pick a Part lot in Campbellfield. So I quickly turned my attention over to them, and this is what I found. Unlike Fords, Holdens weren't primarily made in Victoria, they were made in South Australia, but there was a factory in Fisherman's Bend. I'm not really too sure of the history of Holden, where they were made exactly, but I know that most of them weren't made in Victoria. For example, this VX here, this is the Ecotec, which is the Intec's competitor. This is an American motor though. So they came NA and they came factory superchargers, all the L67, but the supercharged ones in America only came front wheel drive, whereas these were only rear wheel drive. Older style engine and Intec, it's a 3.8 litre pushrod V6, very, very reliable. They obviously have, you know, their issues and stuff like that, but they're very, very robust like Intecs are. It just sort of depends if you're a Holden or a Ford guy. Comment down below if you're a Ford or Holden person. I'm personally a Ford guy. I love my Holdens as well, but I'm personally a Ford guy. So is Peter.
Yeah, I like Holdens, but I own Fords.
Yeah, Fords are just, they're a bit better bang for buck when we're talking about 6-cylinder motors. Here we have a VS Commodore, which has the same motor. They use this from the VS to the VY series Commodores. Once again, 3.8 litre Ecotec. But before this was the VR, and the VR had a 3.8 litre also, but it wasn't an Ecotec, it was called a Buick. Fun fact, I actually used to own a VR Berliner. I wish I never sold it, it was kind of clean. The Buick in it is an older, less powerful version of an Ecotec. I'm not exactly sure how different they are to Ecotecs. If you guys know, please comment it down below because I'd like to know myself. The Buick was sort of a competitor to the SOC, which came in like EDs, EBs, stuff like that. So this engine here. This Commodore was the last of the Commodores to get the Ecotech. This is a VY generation. After the VY, they went to VZ, and in VZ, they used the Alloytech, which also has a nickname, Rattletech. Those are called the Mang Mang V6. The Alloytechs are good. They're good motors, but you have to look after them, and they require a little bit more maintenance than a 3.8, but they can make good power. They're a dual overhead cam motor. You know, it's newer technology. Obviously, it's going to make more power. As I was rummaging through the Falcons and the Commodores, I noticed an EA Falcon that had the head pulled off it, and the head caught my attention because it looked modified, so I went and checked it out. I think this is an EA Falcon. It's a 1990, which I'm assuming is an EA, and I've just noticed something really weird about it. Sometimes you find like modified cars. I don't know if this is modified, you guys might need to let me know, but this EA looks like it has dual row valve springs, like the ones I use in my EF. That might just be like a stock thing. This thing could have been on gas, so maybe factory gas motors had dual row valve springs, I don't know. And yep, the dash is cracked like usual. I was getting way too distracted. Amongst all the Commodores and Falcons, I completely forgot that some imported brands such as Toyota and Mitsubishi also had models that were produced in Australia. And the one that I came across first, I did not expect to be at the junkyard. This is a bit of a weird car. On the surface, it looks like a VR wagon, but technically, a Toyota Lexus, which has the 3.8 litre Buick, which I was talking about earlier. Yeah, where it normally says Holden or Commodore, it says Toyota. It even kind of smells like a Toyota inside. It's got a Holden steering wheel with a Toyota airbag in it.
This is probably the most unreliable car Toyota's ever released.
Yeah, you can tell it's a VR series because it's got the Buick and not the Ecotech, which came in VS's. Look, it's still history at the end of the day. It's kind of cool that they joined forces. Mazda and Ford did the same thing with like the 323s and the 626 and stuff. Here's another weird fact. I've been thinking, Nathan, why are you showing me a Camry? This is an Australian episode. All Camrys from 87 were manufactured in Melbourne. So this XV20, which is a 98, was made here.
Only Camrys for this part of the world were manufactured in Australia.
Yeah. So obviously like Camrys in the US, they were probably built in Japan. Maybe they had like a left-hand drive conversion factory over there as well. It's pretty cool how Toyota put a factory here just for the Australian domestic market. Cars like these, Avalons,
the
Orions,
and the Camry Hybrid too.
Yeah, true Camry Hybrid as well. All of these here. Here are another selection of vehicles that have a Japanese badge but were manufactured here. So this is a Mitsubishi 380. This was also manufactured here. The Magna was manufactured here. This one, I don't know of many countries that have, say, we'll take Australia for example, they have their own Japanese versions of cars that were purely designed for Australia, if that makes sense. Camrys, Magnas, 380s. I don't know if you can find them anywhere else. If there are, comment down below because I'd like to know. These cars aren't at the wreckers because they've broken down. They're at the wreckers because their geriatric owners crashed them. And that's why they're here. Because you don't normally find this generation of Camry. This is an XV10 Camry. This one has the 2.2 litre, which is literally indestructible. These are normally owned by old people with a tissue box in the back and a dent in the corner of the bumper. Look how low Ks this thing is. 180,000 Ks. Very low. Here's another very popular Australian car. This looks to be an SX 4 Territory. And this is like the BA generation because it's 2004. So this one is an NA Barra. This generation of Territories, you can get turbo as well. The newer generations, I think it's an SZ, which is like the FGX generation. You can only get them NA or a turbo diesel. And the turbo diesel engines suck. But these ones were notorious for ball joints falling out, and there was like a big meme with these. This one looks to not have been maintained very well. When you think of this generation Territory, this is full Bilo. You'd ask your dad for Maccas and he'd go, no, we got Maccas at home. And this is what he'd drive. A 2004 Ford Territory. I don't mind the new ones. The new ones are pretty cool. The F6X as well, which is like an FPV Territory. They're pretty cool. These things are just like, I don't know. They're just very uninspiring to look at, but they're good sleepers. It's a Barra, but all-wheel drive. So Barras make heaps of torque. When you turbo these, they're just glued to the ground. This is the gnarliest car I've seen today. This is a BA. Toxic green. Look at the rail. Half of it's missing. And it's not like it's been smushed in. It's been used to rebirth another car. Look, it doesn't even have enough rail for the front part of the subframe to bolt into. I'm very familiar with these subframes because I've done a conversion on my E-Series. So if you guys want a subframe that's easy to take out, come here. Look at this. The engine's timing chain is holding it. Since Peter and I were already in Campbellfield, we decided to make a little detour to go check out the Tickford Enhancement Centre, as it played a massive role in modifying Falcons back in the day. Since we're in Campbellfield and we're near the Ford factory, we decided to check out the Tickford Racing warehouse. Pretty cool how my EF has something to do with this as well. Although Ford Australia isn't really here anymore, they don't manufacture cars, Tickford still do modify existing like customer cars. Peter can bring in his LPI, and I'm sure that there are upgrades that they can do to it, and there's a few cars that are sort of hidden there that I'm guessing they don't want the public seeing. Campbellfield is like, it's crazy, like there's dumped cars everywhere, but there's also a lot of heritage here as well, and cool wreckers. And you don't have to go to a wreckers to find dismantled Fords, because they're sitting on the street. This car might look familiar. This is in my Campbellfield video. It's an AU, and we're in Campbellfield where it was built, so I figured this would be the perfect time to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the wreckers content, because there's only more to come. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.